Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Candle Crime Time, or if this is your first time here, welcome to Candle Crime Time. My name is Shanta, and on this channel, we discuss stories that may have faded away from memory or stories that you may have never heard of. And while I discuss these stories, I make candles or I'll make any other smell good product. Today, we will be discussing the case of Gregory Green. Unlike the previous videos that I have done on this channel where I focused on the victims, I had never heard of this story before, and I wanted to do something just a little bit different by telling the story of the actual perpetrator. And this case is highly disturbing. I do want to put a trigger warning out there that it does involve violence against minor children as well as domestic violence against women. And without further ado, let's get started. Gregory Vicente Green was born on December 10th, 1966. He was raised in a very religious family, but other than that, not much is known about his childhood. Fast forward, when he was in his early 20s, he met a woman named Tonya Clayton Green. They had fell in love and they ended up getting married. Tanya had already had two young children from a previous relationship. However, she became pregnant with Gregory's child, and it seemed as though the couple were beginning to build a family together, and things were happy. But things eventually took a dark turn when Gregory's behavior became increasingly controlling and he became violently aggressive, seemingly out of nowhere towards Tanya. Alarmed by the shift in his personality towards her, Tanya confided in a friend that she actually had planned on leaving Gregory. Unfortunately, she never got that chance. On July 14th, 1991, Gregory ended up attacking Tanya in a fit of rage in their Detroit home. He had grabbed a steak knife from the kitchen and brutally stabbed Tanya 10 times in her neck, cheek, chest, and back. Tanya was actually 6 months pregnant during this attack, and unfortunately, both Tanya and their unborn child died in the attack. Luckily, Tanya's other two children, who were at this time ages 5 and 8, were miraculously and thankfully unharmed. After this brutal attack, Gregory dialed 911 and calmly told the officers what he had done. And when the police had arrived, he opened the door and actually welcomed them inside. According to investigators, Gregory calmly stated, quote, "I stabbed her. She's in the kitchen." Then he showed them to the refrigerator where he had stashed the murder weapon, the steak knife previously mentioned. He was promptly arrested and charged with Tanya's murder. In 1992, Gregory pleaded no contest to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 15 to 25 years in prison. Prison records indicate that he showed no signs of remorse or empathy for the murders. Instead, he actually shifted the blame on Tanya for the reason for her murder. The audacity. Anywho, he was then denied parole 4 times. Still, Green somehow maintained a virtually spotless prison record with only one minor altercation with an inmate. They got into a fistfight. He had steered clear of prison violence after that and kept a low profile throughout the remaining time behind bars. Meanwhile, family, friends, and even other correction officers wrote letters to the parole board advocating for his release, insisting that he had become a changed man and had become closer to God. You know, they always say that they become closer to God when they're in jail trying to get out. One of these people that advocated for his release was Fred Harris, who was a pastor of a church called the Church of Risen Christ Ministries International, located in Detroit, who had known Gregory before the murders, wrote multiple letters to the Michigan Parole Board on Gregory's behalf, begging them to give him a second chance and promising that the church would aid in his rehabilitation. With the help of Pastor Harris, Gregory was finally released on parole in 2008. 2 years after his release, Gregory moved to Ohio, where he married a woman named Faith Harris, who was actually the daughter of Pastor Fred Harris, the pastor who helped him get parole. Faith had previously been acquainted with Gregory. She actually met him at Pastor Harris's church when she was about 14. Little did she know that this little encounter that she had with him would be a lasting impact on the rest of her life. Gregory, who was then 24, had quickly captured her heart, but their connection was abruptly interrupted when he vanished without a trace. Can you kind of have an idea of what may have happened to Mr. Gregory? Anywho, despite this passage of time, Faith still harbored those same intense feelings for Gregory that she had when she was a love struck teenager. Yet, despite knowing that Gregory's disappearance was due to a prison sentence, it is alleged that Faith had no idea the extent of the crime and why he went away. And she stated that he actually wouldn't discuss it during their relationship whenever she would inquire about it. In spite of this, December of 2010, they ended up getting married, so this would make Faith Gregory's second wife. Gregory had become a stepfather to Faith's other two children that she had from a previous marriage, a son named Chandey Allen Jr. and a daughter named Kara Allen. The couple also ended up having two daughters of their own together, two little girls named Coy and Kaleigh Green, during their 6-year marriage. To those on the outside, Gregory, Faith, and their four children appeared to be the ideal all American family. They lived in a Detroit suburb, Dearborn Heights, and however, very few people were aware of the troubles in their Green marriage. In 2013, so about 3 years into the marriage, Gregory had begun to subject Faith to the exact same abuse that he had inflicted upon Tonya, his first wife. Faith had reportedly tried to leave him multiple times and had filed for divorce in 2013. She tried to get a personal protection order, or a PPO, against him in 2013, and in it, she claimed that he would often get belligerent and he would kick things, and then he threatened to attack her. On one occasion, she had claimed that Gregory told her that, quote, things are going to get ugly, end quote, if she didn't leave the house. She also had made claims that he had at one point in time kicked the couch while one of the littler children was sleeping on it. But at the time, the court had actually denied her PPO request, citing insufficient allegations. His previous prison term, nor the crime that he committed, was brought to the judge's attention by Faith for reasons, of course. She says that she didn't know because he never discussed this with her. So this may have played a factor into why it was denied. And this is just me speculating based on the information that's out there. So Faith had actually remained with Gregory for another 3 years, but in August of 2016, Faith had once again found herself filing for divorce from Gregory. This would prove to be a very big mistake. Or I shouldn't say mistake, I should say this proved to have dire, dire consequences. A few weeks later, on the night of September 21st, 2016, Gregory turned on his family once again. Faith was forcibly woken up by Gregory, and he dragged her into the living room. There, she found the oldest two children, Chandey, who was 19 at the time, and Kara, who was 17 at the time. And he bound them all with zip ties and duct taped their mouths and led them all down to the basement. Once downstairs, Gregory bound her further to the chair that was in the basement. And making Chandey and Kara watch, Gregory ended up shooting Faith in her foot and then sliced her face with a box cutter. After he was done torturing Faith, he turned to the teenagers, and he forced Faith this time to witness him do the unthinkable. He shot Kara and Chandey in the head execution style, while Faith watched helplessly. It was also reported that Gregory put the two youngest girls, Coy and Kaleigh, into the family car and then snaked a hose from the car's tailpipe into the car's interior, poisoning the little girls with carbon monoxide from the exhaust fumes. And afterwards, he carried their lifeless bodies back into the house and placed them back in their beds. It is unclear if he did this first, prior to killing Chandey and Kara and attacking Faith, or if he did this afterwards. But nonetheless, he also executed the younger babies. And just like he did the first time he murdered his family, Gregory called the police on himself and waited for the police to arrive. And when they did, he was waiting for them outside in the driveway, ready to admit what he had done, where he was promptly arrested and charged with the murders of the 4 children, Chandey, Kara, Coy, and Kaleigh. Gregory pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, torture, and assault with intent to do great bodily harm. He also pleaded guilty to a felony firearms charge. However, as part of a guilty plea, the unlawful imprisonment, felony in possession of a firearm, and felonious assault charges were dropped at his sentencing hearing. Prior to his sentencing hearing, he was sent for a psychiatric evaluation to see if he was competent to stand trial, in which he was found mentally competent to stand trial. At his sentencing hearing, Faith actually gave a victim impact statement, and the words she said to him were very chilling. In her statement, she told Gregory that he was a con artist and a monster, and that he was a devil in disguise, and he is now forever exposed. She also told him that his plans to hurt her did not work, and she also spoke very lovingly about her children as she addressed him. She also stated that she will not suffer as he intended. What he did not work, and while she stood there trembling with fear, she put on her bravest face to be in the same room with the man who murdered all 4 of her children, 2 of them violently in front of her with a gun, and he killed her other 2 babies with a hose that ran from the tailpipe of his car to where they were innocently sleeping. Also at his sentencing hearing, Assistant Wayne County Prosecutor Tricia Gerard stated that Gregory actually planned the killings while shopping at Home Depot a week before because he bought piping to alter the exhaust system of his car where he poisoned Coy and Kaleigh. Faith also talks about how she suffers from short-term memory loss about some of the details surrounding that horrific night. She also suffers from PTSD and has migraines and nightmares. While Faith spoke, his back was towards her the entire time. He was sentenced to 47 to 102 years in prison, and he won't be eligible for parole until he is 97 years old. And so that'll do it for today's case. As I said, this case is highly disturbing. I personally feel that this man is one of the many personifications of evil. I think that he just wanted to psychologically damage Faith for the rest of her life. He just wanted to have that psychological imprint on her to keep some form of control, maybe. And yes, I study forensic psychology, but I am not licensed yet. That's just my personal opinion on the matter. He's just evil. He's evil, evil, evil. He should have never been able to get parole. And of course, you don't expect this to happen to you if you go to advocate for someone. It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible all the way around. 5 lives were just destroyed because of one sick, evil man. And he just to this day cannot explain his reasoning, even though there is no reasoning for doing what he did. I am so much more interested in hearing what you have to say. Let me know your thoughts down below. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you all in the next one.